But one German player, one overseas player, has proved that college basketball here in the US can transcend national boundaries. That's certainly the thinking for Pac-12. It's the college league that stages games on the west coast of the USA featuring Ivy League universities like UCLA and Berkeley. Last year, it tied up a deal to start streaming some of its games with Alibaba on Alibaba's equivalent of YouTube. So I sat down with the Deputy Commissioner of Pac-12 to find out how they can make this particular variant of basketball work in China.
The NBA is known outside of the USA. There are icons like LeBron James and Kobe Bryant, less so in college basketball. How and why do you think there's a market in China for college basketball?
Yeah, the US has such a unique model in terms of university sport and education, and I think what we're seeing globally, China and otherwise, is a real interest in this model going forward. So for us, it's about being part of education and elite athletic development, but we also believe that we have some of these stars of tomorrow that are very interesting to the Chinese market and otherwise. So DeAndre Ayton or Lonzo Ball, these great names that enter into the NBA come through our pathway. So for us, I think there's an opportunity there to highlight these remarkable student athletes in China and otherwise.
You've been holding regular season games for several years in China now. What kind of numbers are you seeing in terms of revenue and audience participation?
We've been very pleased with sort of how the audience is slowly growing. China is a long-term play, obviously. As I like to describe it, it's a long and winding road. You got to get on the road and keep going. So we've seen good crowds for our games in China. We're now distributing our content, our Pac-12 Network's content in China, and those numbers continue to grow. But we understand it's a long-term proposition. And then again, this notion of university sport is very new to that market. But we continue to educate and build brand there, and we're very optimistic for the future.
There's been lots of talk here in San Antonio about not paying student athletes in basketball and in other athletic programs. You're now expanding beyond the United States, making money in places like China. To what extent do you think that reinforces the case that students should be paid for what they're doing?
Yeah, certainly we're not in favor of any pay-for-play model. We believe that what these student athletes do are core to their education. They receive a ton of benefits, including free education, which is so valuable in the United States. There are discussions moving forward as to different pathways. I think our perspective is if there are athletes that really just see their pathway specifically to professional sports, that we understand if they want to do that outside the educational system. We believe in those that want to have both elite education and elite athletic development.